trainings we have done in April was the Time Line Therapy Practitioner with David Shephard as a leading trainer. And according to the feedback we got on the training, people just love it. As you can see on the testimonials, we will put on Facebook or on YouTube as well. You can actually see people having the time of their life. Now, based on that success and based on the huge impact it had on people itself, we decided to do another Time Line Therapy Practitioner in October, actually on 22 and 23 of October. And it's in Utrecht. It's in the Netherlands as well, in a fairly small place, but it's going to be huge. Now, actually, I would like to ask David some questions about Time Line therapy. Why would you become a Time Line Therapy practitioner? Now, actually, what is Time Line therapy in itself?
Time Line therapy is a set of techniques.
Yeah.
Based on NLP, based on Ericksonian hypnosis, and also based on the thinking of Alfred Korzybski, that enable people to gain emotional freedom.
Yeah.
So, I think the universal experience for people is that we go through life, events happen in life, and the event's been and gone, yet we still have what we call unresolved negative emotions on those events. Like we think of an event in the past, maybe even years and years and years ago in the past, and even so, it still makes us angry, it still makes us feel sad, it still makes us feel afraid or hurt or guilty.
Right.
And what the Time Line therapy techniques enable someone to do is to release from their unconscious mind all of those negative emotions from events in the past. Now, does that mean that we'll never feel angry, sad, afraid, hurt or guilt in the future? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Life's life.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
Even as an NLP master trainer, that's still the case. But what it does mean is it means that when they feel the emotion for a particular event in the moment, they just have the level of the emotion that's relevant and appropriate for what's happening in that moment.
Yeah.
Whereas I think all of us have had an experience where maybe we get really, really angry about something, and afterwards go, why did I get so angry about that? It was just blah.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like a domino effect in that something has you get angry in the moment, and it domino effects into all the things in the past that made you angry. I suppose an extreme example of that would be, we've had it a little bit here in the UK, it was big in the States. It was road rage. Somebody's driving down a motorway, and somebody cuts them up, and they fly into an absolute rage, and then, drive the person off the road.
Yeah, right.
They just happen to have a gun in the car, and then they shoot the person just because they cut them up on the motorway. That's a great example of lots of unresolved anger. So it gives people emotional freedom. Also enables people to literally delete from their unconscious mind limiting decisions or limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, I can't make the kind of money I want, I can't have the kind of relationship I would like, I can't have the kind of body that I want. So to be able to literally delete those, very powerful. And then to be able to put events out into their future. Almost, I guess, what you call future memories, which is an interesting concept. Future memories where the future becomes as certain as the past that you've had. As in, you have things out in your future which you absolutely know are going to happen the way that you've put them out there. So, also then Time Line therapy becomes what I believe is one of the most effective goal achievement systems. So I think we've all experienced goal setting systems. And there's a big difference between a goal setting system and a goal achieving system. In that, prior to learning timeline therapy and creating future coaching techniques, I set lots of goals which I never achieved. So it actually enables you to do that. So very, very, very elegant, very simple, very powerful set of techniques to use for yourself, for your own personal achievement, and also you can work with your clients too.
Okay. Well, and when I got to know you, I was reading about your program, the Warrior program, which actually uses timeline therapy. And what is it exactly, the Warrior program?
The Warrior program is a 3-day program where we teach the delegates on that program to use the timeline therapy techniques to release the negative emotions and limiting decisions from their past, and also be able to create the future the way that they want it. And the people who come along to that, I say it's ex-service men and women who haven't transitioned well from service to civilian life as a result of some of the experiences that they had when they were serving. Whether they have post-traumatic stress disorder, compound post-traumatic stress disorder, or a number of other issues. And as a result, they've lost their way in life. The relationships may have broken down. They may be, drinking excessively, and they've lost their home, etc. And we teach them how to use timeline therapy techniques. And this is really was a great reference experience for me, because the first Warrior program that I ran, was the guy on the program came up to me the second morning program. And he came up to me and said, "I just want to tell you." He said, "Last night I went to bed about 10 o'clock. I put my head on the pillow, and the next thing I remembered was it was 6 o'clock this morning, and I was getting ready to come to the Warrior program." I went, "Well, thanks for sharing that." He said, "No, you don't understand. That's the first proper night's sleep I've had in 12 years. Wow." He said, "Previously I'd either walk around the house and warm myself out by about 4 o'clock and sleep for 2 hours, or I would drink myself to sleep. That's the first proper night's sleep I've had for 12 years. And I'm starting to go, whoa. Now this is before we started the timeline therapy technique. Then at the end of the second day, which is where we actually teach them to use timeline therapy techniques, he comes up again to me and said, I've had experimental psychoactive drugs, I've had best psychiatrists in the world, I've had one-on-one counselling, I've had group counselling, you name it, art therapy, you name it, I've had it for the last 12 years. This is the first thing that's had the voices and the noises disappear in my head." He said, "I haven't got a clue how it happened, but they've gone." And then on the third day, which is really the day we were looking at creating the future there, because the past has now been put to rest. On the third day, we take them out for dinner. It's a bit of a celebration of the Warrior program. And the same guy comes up to me again, and he says, "This is the first time I've eaten out in public in 12 years. Because previously I've been here, I've been paranoid about everybody in the restaurant walking and all that kind of stuff." And then, what a very humbling experience for me was we then encouraged them to set a really massive goal at the end of the Warrior program, a goal that was really meaningful for them. And his goal was this was the most meaningful and biggest goal he could ever imagine setting. It was to take his wife out for dinner. And when we do practitioner trainings or change your mind, change your future trainings or whatever, we encourage people to set big goals, and it's about money, it's about cars, it's about houses, or whatever. This guy, to take his wife out for dinner, which he achieved. And also now he's got a job, and his life is he's just transformed his entire life. And these guys, obviously the great thing about timeline therapy is you don't need to hear the story. You don't need to know what's happened to them in the past. Because some of them choose to share. And they're sharing the story and you're going, oh my God, this is heavy duty. And I get people quite often, not in the Warrior program, come up to me and go like, well, I'm not sure time line therapy will work for me because I've got big problems. To which now I go like, let's hold that for a second and just have a chat with this guy over here for a while about his experience, what he'd experienced before he did time line therapy now. And they come back and go like, okay, I think it's going to work. So that's the Warrior program, and it's we do about 25, 30 people at a time, and phenomenal testimony to the power of time line therapy techniques. I mean, I go, if time line therapy can work with this amount of trauma, for want of a better word, in a person's past and have it disappear, then
exactly.
The kind of things that you and I have been working on, stroll in the park.
Well, it sounds like a great program. Now, but then we have the I call it the huge things. But how did time line therapy work for you specifically?
Well, I mean that's what had me want to become a trainer of time line therapy and train other people in it, because I arrived at the practitioner training with my own unresolved stuff. I mean, there's two big events for me. Really. One was my dad dying, and the other was my marriage ending in divorce. And I had the bag loads of anger and sadness and fear and hurt and guilt that I carried around for a good number of years. To a certain extent, it didn't make any sense why I had these emotions, but I did. I tried to think my way through it, make sense out of it. Didn't work. Did psychodrama for a while. To the point where I was actually running psychodrama trainings for a year or so. And they do what they say on the tin. They're very psycho and they're very dramatic. And what I got as a result of that was I understood exactly why I had emotional problems. I still had the emotional problems. And now I was kind of like an expert on those emotional problems. And I could actually say to people, look, if the same thing had happened to you, you'd have the same problem as me. And I solved the problem. Whereas within the space of an afternoon on the time line therapy practitioner training, they're gone. The emotions are gone. And the impact that had for me was that I could actually think of the events of the past with my dad and think about them comfortably. Just to a certain extent, I can't think about it because it's too painful. Which was wonderful. And also marriage and divorce, lots of limiting decisions as a result of that. Lots of negative emotions. You bring those into your next relationship. Doesn't really help you bring the new relationship the way that you want it. So rather than being fearful, if you like, of going into a new relationship, afraid of being hurt again, if you like, and also with a substantial amount of guilt going into a new relationship, that was all gone. So big personal experience. Then the phobia of bees and wasps. I'm in Southern California, big bees, big wasps all over the place. I was like, and I think that getting rid of the phobia of bees and wasps, I had one of the other practitioners that said, look, please help me. You want to go and eat dinner outside tonight, and these bees and wasps are plaguing me and scaring the shit out of me. Will you do the time line therapy with me to get rid of it? And it was like 10 minutes later, it was gone. I'm not a beekeeper now or anything like that. But if there was one at the window there, let's say, I'd be totally okay with being there, whereas I'd be out the door before. When I had the phobia, did it make any sense? No, it didn't make any sense at all. And, it was still there. So that was, I just thought, wow, the majority of people wandering around the planet think they don't have any choice about their emotions. And in a very short period of time, they could learn a completely new way of being, really, which is what motivated me to go out there and teach as many people Time Line therapy as possible. And I was talking to Ted James, the creator of Time Line Therapy, just a couple of weeks ago, which is a very, very good friend. And we actually worked it out that there's only one person on the planet who's been teaching Time Line Therapy longer than me, which is Ted. So I've been doing it continuously, consistently for 18 years. That's my belief in it. And it still absolutely blows me away that it works. It's amazing. My amazement for it is continuing.
All right. Okay. Now, you are in the position of actually, you already have finished your NLP practitioner. Now, what would it add, aside of being a practitioner of NLP, what would it add to people who would like to learn NLP or Time Line therapy?
Okay, so obviously to learn Time Line therapy, to use it with other people, you need to be an NLP practitioner. Because there's some real core NLP skills which you absolutely have to do Time Line therapy, like sensory acuity, rapport, clean language, your questioning skills, and also your ability to do reframing are really important. So the practitioner of Time Line therapy is only open to people who are already certified as a practitioner of NLP. I think that it adds a whole new dimension to the kind of results that you can enable the client to get. Can you assist people in releasing negative emotions from events in the past using NLP? Well, yes, you can. There's a whole series of different techniques, but they tend to work on discrete events. So if we were to do, for instance, something like change personal history, very powerful anchoring technique, you're working with one particular event. So if there's a number of events, then you need to do that process with each one separately.
Exactly.
Whereas with Time Line therapy, what we do is we really assist the person in taking out the negative emotion from the roots. So we're having them go back to the very, very first time they ever experienced that emotion, which they wouldn't be aware of consciously, they are unconsciously. Which means that really what we're doing, let's say the person had 100 events in the past where they had something that they still felt angry about. With Time Line therapy, what you're literally doing is like doing 100 change personal histories.
Wow.
All in one go. The person comes back along their timeline. So for me, what it adds is a dimension to the kind of, how do you enable somebody to achieve a major breakthrough in their life, rather than just have their problem disappear? Because I think so somebody can see you and their problem disappears. You're like, well, I went to see Eric, my problem disappeared. Fantastic. If you integrate NLP and Time Line therapy, then you get the kind of result where somebody goes, I want to see Eric, and my entire life changed. It takes about the same amount of time. So I go, which is the most personally fulfilling? Problem disappearing, or enabling somebody to have their entire life change? Obviously the latter. And also, just purely from a values level 5 business head, which one gets more referrals?
Wow. Yeah, definitely.
Because the people who had an experience, a life-changing experience, go around telling everybody.
Wow.
And even if they don't, their friends go, what happened to you? You looked so different, you sound so different, you act so different, and where do I go to get the same thing?
Okay.
Which is great for business.
Well, definitely.
And my thing is, you can be the best coach in the world, but nobody knows if you don't have any clients.
That's right. Exactly.